Today is October the 12th, 2020. This is the Service Hero Show, 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. My name is Tamara Hunter, and I am your host. This is the show that shares the inspiring stories of those that are inspiring others. So, let's do this. Today we have a service hero from a whole nother continent over on the other side. It's not on the other side of the pond, as they call it. It's on the other side, on my side of the world, over the water, and I was going to say through the woods. However, no, we're through the ocean. We have Robyn Jordan here, our service hero. I shared some time with Robyn not long ago in regards to a summit that really meant a lot to me personally. It was the very first time I've talked about some issues, some history in my own particular life on air in the public. And I was just sharing with Robyn a few moments ago that she was my service hero through that period of time. She had a smile and just this countenance, this ability to share love through her eyes and her face, that when I was sharing, she was there with this constant, unconditional beauty that meant so much to me personally that I went to her afterwards and I asked if she would allow for me to honor her as the service hero that I know she is. And she's serving so many others also. So Robyn, I want to say thank you for everything you are and sharing the love and being the amazing woman that you are.
Well, thank you, Tamara. That was a beautiful introduction, and I'm the one that's totally honoured. Thank you.
Well, you are so welcome. And let's get to our those that are here with us. In fact, I want to welcome Helene Wilson. Helene is our first ambassador of the chat, we call her, within the nonprofit that we're going to actually talk about, because it kind of has something to do with your history also. And she's here saying hello to the buddies.
Hi,
And she also is, yes, it is October the 12th, 2020. Thank you for helping me with that. I love it. And she's saying hello to you. We have one of our senior ambassadors here with us right now. She's also one of the producers of our show. And I was bragging about you, Carol. Because we were talking, Robyn and I were talking before about sound. And I said, don't worry, if we have a sound issue, Carol will let us know. So, I want to again recognize the fact that we met on a summit that was held by a dear friend of mine and one of yours also. In fact, she's such a dear friend that I want to share something before we get going that you may want to hear. So we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, my name is Crystal Richardson and I am so pleased to be on today. And Robyn, I just want to give a shout out to you and just say how much I love you and appreciate you. And I'm not even really sure exactly how we met, maybe a year or so ago, but it's just been amazing how much you pour into people. And I always talk about your smile and how it just lights up the room. And it's not just your smile, it's your words. You have such a way of just giving back to people and just pouring into people based on your experiences. And you've been through so much, but still you smile and still you rise and still you lift up others. So I am so pleased to be able to give just a few words just to say how much I love and adore you and how much you have changed my life personally, as well as the lives of many, many people across the world, and how you even pour into Above Your Best and the various initiatives I had with global summits. I mean, you're just phenomenal. I'm so glad that we've met, and I'm so glad that I've had the privilege of being in the presence of someone who is definitely a hero. Thank you.
Wow.
Yes.
It was really touching. Thank you, Crystal. It's been my pleasure to have met such an amazing woman. Yeah. She's got such a wonderfully big heart, hasn't she?
Oh, definitely, without question. And so that's why I wanted to set it up that we had met on one of the summits that she was just speaking about. And it was about relationships and such things. And that's something you really know a lot because it's an area of focus for you in your business. However, that also is really when she talks about the fact that you've had a lot of things in your life, a lot of experience in your life, and a lot of, if you will, heartache and triumphs in your life. And that's really where I want to go right now, because I believe that your story is truly so inspiring that there are those out there that need to hear what you know, how you have overcome. And oh my goodness, as we were talking, I'm thinking, okay, there's even more. And how amazing is it? So, thank you. We have our report that yes, we are live on the E360 TV platform, and anyone that is not aware, this show does stream live on all the web TVs, your phone, such things. You can watch it on live. You can also watch it in repeat or on demand. And she is letting us know that sound is good. So right. Wonderful. All right. Well, let's get into it. And I want to start with a picture that you sent me, because right here, that's your crew, right?
It is. It's my beautiful children. Well, young adults now, aren't they? So, yeah, I'm very proud mum. And I have 3 beautiful grandchildren too, which is such a joy.
Wow. And yes, you guys, they're all, you gave birth to all 7 of them, right?
I did, one at a time.
and how many years between the oldest and the youngest?
Well, my older one, I think it's about 14 years, is it? I can't remember. My youngest is 18, and then my eldest is 31. Yeah, I was a busy mum.
Very busy mom. Very busy mom. And I mean, my goodness, look at that picture. It's just, it's beautiful. They like each other, it looks like.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And, you know, with moving countries and as they spread their wings, they're in so many different parts of Australia, and my eldest daughter's back in New Zealand at the moment. And so they hadn't been together for a while, and it was my second son's wedding. So it was actually a real delight just standing back and seeing them interacting and just hanging out off each other's shoulders. It was wonderful. Yeah.
And when did this happen?
That was over 2 years ago now. Yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, that in itself, that is a precious picture. And when they were little, okay, so you were talking about moving countries.
Yeah.
You're from now New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
Original.
Yep, right. Yes, we're from New Zealand.
New Zealand. And how many kids did you have when you were in New Zealand?
We had all 7. Okay. Yep. And we brought 5 of our children over. 2 of them were studying, and eventually those 2 came over as well.
And you went to Australia.
We did.
Okay. And what was the move all about? Why did you decide to move?
Well, we've had a series of events back in New Zealand, and we actually had sold our property and moved way out into the country to see whether we enjoyed country living. My children had expressed interest in having horses, and with having a big family and I actually homeschooled all my children. So to have a little bit of land was very, enticing. So we went out there and invested our money from our house, and sadly, we lost everything. It was in some investments, and things happen, don't they, like this? So we found ourselves in this situation, one income, big family, and we were renting a home and out in the country. So we wanted to buy a property that, we didn't have big mortgages, and so land had got quite expensive in New Zealand. So I just happened to be looking on the internet one day and thought, I wonder what land is like in Australia. And we had both lost our parents, fairly recently, before we moved. And it just started that, that snowball of thoughts of, wow, what would it be like? And so we found this rural property, and we bought 37 acres in central Australia, and we made the big move. It was a huge move. We brought a big shipping container over and, moved 5 children over there, and thus began a life that we hoped was, going to be sprinkled with gold, and yet it was far from that in many ways. There were many challenges. But Australia's home now, and I'm very proud to say I'm an Australian citizen as well now. So I can go, be a dual citizen, a New Zealander and an Australia. So it's really awesome. I love Australia too.
Well, it sounds like the country situation, literally, out in the country and the actual countries themselves, those experiences were well, let's just say that there was some challenge though in there. And I want to go there because that is, I believe, a lot of your story. And I didn't realize how much of one until you were explaining to me. And I'm thinking, wow, I remember reading stories of my ancestors, if you will, generations ago, living in dugouts and, things like that as they were, preparing the land so that they could keep the land, because that was the way back in the day. That's how a lot of families obtain their lands. Now, you actually bought your land. Yeah. You're out there, yet because of buying the land, now it makes a lot more sense. And where you were with what you had to invest, you bought the land, but the house was kind of lacking, and you're trying to make this all work. You've got 7 kids, you're homeschooling them. How in the heck did you keep your wits about you? So let's explain. You were saying that the walls were what?
I actually wonder how I did it too when I look back. Yeah. But, you have a vision, don't you? And my husband was a builder, cabinet maker, and we bought this land, and we're going to build this property. And my vision was, the family ranch type, style, and have all the children home and a place for all them to come when they, grew up and had a family. And it was tough. I lived in what we call a weekender in Australia, which was like a shed that had been done up to be able to be livable, really, but pretty basic. And so that was, I was happy to accept that challenge. But year after year, it continued, and we weren't making any progress. And I found myself getting very discouraged, and it was 9.5 years later, really, we were still living in this shed, and there were many basic amenities that were challenging. I didn't have a proper working oven. I had to cook in the barbecue for 9 years, and not proper hot running water. And I try to look on the bright side of life, but I had to acknowledge that it was hard, and I started to lose hope. And, it says in the Bible, when you lose hope, it makes your heart sick. And that was what I was experiencing.
Right. So you're more than your heart got sick, though.
It did. Yeah. I unfortunately, actually for my 50th birthday, I had some issues that I thought sort of were bowel related, and I I'm very much a natural health person and don't go to the doctor very often. And I thought, no, I need to go and get this checked out. And so she, sent me to have a whole lot of tests. And I said, well, now I'm 50, I'll, better have a mammogram because our screening starts at 50 here. So I went along for one, and then they called me back and they said I had some scar tissue and they just wanted to do another scan. And look, it was 45 minutes from where I lived, and so I just came into town with a whole list of things to do. And yeah, I was there 5 hours and basically told that I had breast cancer. So it was a huge shock because I never felt a lump, and even when I knew where it was, there was no sign of a lump. It was very deep, and so I think I look back and it was something that shocked me into reality in many ways. I had been in a very dark place and emotionally, and lost hope, and was feeling quite depressed, was feeling what was the meaning of life. And this made me realise that actually my life mattered, and that I loved life. I love people, I love connection, and I love adventure. And yeah, I wanted to learn the lessons. I have a strong faith, and I know that nothing surprises God. And what was it that I had to learn from this? So I went into breast cancer with very much a positive, approach, which sounds weird, really, and yet it challenged every core of me. The chemo and was intense, and I did not respond great to it at all, and spent a lot of time in hospital. It was a journey that I felt very lonely, very abandoned, and when we go through these real deep challenges and these deep valleys, it causes us to go deep within, doesn't it? And I realised that my walk in life was really mine, and I was really accountable to God, and I couldn't rely on everybody else to, meet all my needs and make my life happen, that it was going to be up to me. And so look, I met some incredible people through that experience that inspired me immensely, that were going through even greater challenges than me. And thus began, my healing journey. And in many ways, I embraced a lot of natural health, and went through some naturopaths. And look, I am so grateful to be where I am. And health-wise, it's nearly 10 years since I got diagnosed, and I feel that when I was going through it, I believed that I would never be the same, and that was true. And yet in many ways I'm a lot better, right. A lot stronger. Yeah.
And that's not uncommon, actually. There's so many of us that end up going, because you have to. It's interesting how when life presents itself, sometimes up to then you think that you're looking at it through eyes that you want to live. However, you want to live for possibly different reasons. The goals might be different. The journey, even, you go with the end in mind. Well, the end in mind, when you haven't faced something like, that you've got to make a decision that you want to live. Not everybody thinks that way. They may think that they're showing up for their day, and hey, that's a decision to live. Yeah, it's very different when you are putting that energy in, because you've got that diagnosis or that foe or whatever you want to say it is, that challenge to then heal through, to get through to the other side. And so many are. You are inspiring many, many more too. And I love, you have beautiful quotes. Can I just say, all of your quotes and your, just all of your, posts and social media, beautiful, beautiful. And here's when I am not what has happened to me. I am who I choose to become.
That's right. And, that that diagnosis, that experience, you know, I started to ask myself the questions, you know, if my life was cut short, would I have regrets? And there were many, you know. I'm a visionary, and I had many dreams within me that had died, had been suppressed. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of your viewers could resonate, you know, as a woman, and especially as a mum, you know, we often put the needs of others before ourselves. And that's something that I've had to learn a lot about. And I realised, you know, even through my own personal development journey, the power of roles that we embody and that we take on, you know, it's often through young children. When we're young, we make something mean a certain thing to be accepted. We have to, you know, not make any waves or keep our needs within us so we don't put demands out, or we have to please people. And you know, we carry this, and we bring it into adulthood. And I realised that I was this hero role of, not a service hero, but a hero in an unresourceful way, that I had to be strong and be brave and not actually acknowledge some of my deepest, you know, needs, and my emotional needs as well as my physical needs, and put everybody else first, and don't worry about me, I'll be okay. And yeah, so these are some of the lessons that I've learnt, you know, through taking responsibility for my life, and just pausing and actually thinking consciously, you know, what are my values, you know, what are my dreams, who am I, you know, finding that identity. That often can get lost or merged in the journey of raising a family. And as much as it was a total joy and, you know, so fulfilling in so many ways, I'm sure, you know, we all can acknowledge that it can be challenging and there's a lot of demands on us. And then, you know, when you go through something as significant as cancer and the treatments that you go through, everything is stripped away, and that really makes you, you know, ask yourself, well, who am I? What do I stand for? And how is my life counting in the big picture of life? Yeah.
I love that. I love it. Everything that you just said there, you know, is like there's so many nuggets in it all. And I want to recognize we've got so many people that are here with us, and many that have actually been through the journey. And thank you for sharing your thoughts and your story, Robyn. And you know, I want to bring one of your quotes up. You know, I'll start with that because one of my favorites, I actually have here. Let me bring this up. I have a picture that actually kind of shows this in a, you know, like a image. Also, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, which many people right now can relate with, because we have firestorms, we have water storms, we have hurricanes and tornadoes, and my golly gee willikers, lately there's been plenty of storms. Life isn't about it waiting for those storms to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. And, you know, I'm going to say amen to this, because it's so important that we see the gift in today. It is a present. And no matter what that storm looks like, and some people just don't understand this yet. It's all about up here. Yes. It's all about in our hearts too, here and here, that really, I mean, here you're living in an environment where, you know, you don't even have a proper stove. You don't have hot water. You're doing this for, you know, raising 7 kids and homeschooling them too. And you know, if that's not already a storm, and then you find out that you are facing cancer, and you have all of that, because when you get a diagnosis like that, it's not like all of a sudden, oh yeah, everything else in life turns out pretty, and so you can then focus on this and deal with it. Whatever your life looks like at the time of diagnosis is what you're journeying through diagnosis with. And you were already in a situation that some people would be saying, like, kill gone, take me away, like pulling their hair out in some ways. Yet, look at that smile. Look at, and I will say this, when you were talking, it reminds me of long ago, someone that was like a mentor of mine, a dear woman. And I know she said it in her most loving way. However, I always went back to it and I thought, okay, how do I feel about this? Because she was like, okay, now, dear, now, when you serve dinner to your family, if there's one piece of pie left, that is not yours. And I'm most giving person, so that was not an issue for me. However, the fact that it was said was the thing that I kept going back to, because I thought, how many people hear that and then they come from a place of scarcity because of it, rather than an unconditional love to the others that, okay, yeah, I'm not into pie anyway. Now, here you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Those messages can just stay in our minds and condition our thoughts and our perspectives in life, and in the end, deny the self-love that we really need to give. And I'm learning so much more about, my identity in Christ, and, the treasure that is within us and what he has already done for us. And we are actually often taught, in faith environments about, putting everybody else before yourself. And I actually think that has got twisted in some ways. And what I've realized is that when we can show ourselves that nurture of, having healthy boundaries and being able to express our needs and our emotions, that we are able to fill our own cup and then let it overflow into the lives of others. And that happens with such joy then, rather than, oh, I've got to do this for that person, or, I'm expected to show up, or, and it changes your life really when you know that you can trust yourself to be able to say no. People pleaser, being able to say no and disappoint people was a huge hurdle for me to be able to overcome. And yet when I recognised, so much of life is about having awareness to how we're automatically and unconsciously being programmed in life, and to be able to take that back and change the meanings we make things and our perspective so much in life. And, through trials, I actually see that God has done so much in my life and he's used them for good. And I actually would love to share this, just a verse from the song that was a great comfort to me and when I was going through some of these trials. And it said, what if your blessings come from raindrops? What if your healing comes from tears? What if 1,000 sleepless nights are what it takes to know you're near? What if the trials of this life are your mercies in disguise? And I just can categorically say that my trials have shaped me into the woman that I am today, and to be able to, draw on the essence that I have been given and the life that's been breathed into me and the purpose that I have, which so often is to shine our light, isn't it? To be able to share really what is within us, our authentic self, rather than what we think everybody expects. So, yeah, I'm really very grateful for everything that I have gone through, and I see it as the way, what we fear is where we need to lean into.
Absolutely. In fact, okay, you have this one, and I love this because it's one of your quotes. Your thoughts determine your pathway and destiny. Choose them wisely. And so once we start getting to that point where we're aware of the fact that we have the power within us to then say, okay, I have the power and it is okay for me to be a happy person. And how does that look? And to choose wisely. You also shared, and I want to share this. You sent me over a quote that's one of your favorites, and read it. And I'm gonna play that for all of us, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna dive into what it is that you're doing now to help so many more move through their challenges. And we're gonna talk about how well you're doing, because you have truly moved through yours. And you're going to tell me about one thing that I'm like, okay, what is that? So we're going to go into that in just a moment, guys. So let's listen to one of Robyn's favorite quotes. All right.
Hi, everybody. I would love to share a quote that's inspired me on my journey, and it's from Marianne Williamson, and I think this sums up really as woman to really what it takes to truly shine. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing more enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you.
Wow.
It's a wonderful quote.
It is.
Yeah.
And it says so much, and it says so much of really who you are. And so I can see why you picked that one. And the message that you're out there sharing with others now, you were in one of the best, or the #1 habit books. And I'm going to bring this up here. And in it, you talk about, let's see here, get my notes, that, let's see, it's been those daily habits that have kept me on course and built my self-trust on the way to creating my destiny and living my dreams. And so you were inspired to write a chapter, and I love Linda. I love Linda. It's so much fun, and I love this whole concept of the #1 habit books. And let's talk about this. The course, on course. You know, that says right there, that word right there says so much to me, because when we get off course, we can get so lost. When we stay on course, and everything that you just read from Marianne Williamson, everything you've discussed so far, it all really gets down to that habit and creating that, so that you trust yourself and then you remain on course. You're helping a lot of people to do that, aren't you?
Well, my passion is to be able to shine the light and help lift others along this journey. You know, life doesn't always turn out how we dream it's going to, and it's really how we show up in the darker times, and how we, build resilience to be able to, walk through it. I think that's where we really, develop that self-trust, is when we can trust ourselves that we can walk through some of these challenges in life. And it really was, sadly, after my marriage broke down after 31 and a half years, it was something that I could never have, was not even conceivable in my mind, especially as a woman of faith, that road of, I think, of shame really in so many ways, and guilt of, having a marriage that breaks down, and all your dreams and all what your vision has been in life, fall away. And it's when everything once again is stripped away, what is the foundation that you're going to build on? And so when that happened and I found myself, well, I was homeless really, and it was, without a friend that took me in, I don't quite know where I would be, because unfortunately in Australia and New Zealand, age 50 and above is the highest demographic of our population that is at risk of homelessness and poverty in our country. And so I realised firsthand, how vulnerable you can feel, and that you are as a middle-aged woman that may have had significant health issues. And if you've been a mum at home serving your family, you've given up your career, and what in the world do you do? So that was my experience. I found myself, I had done actually an aged care course. As I said to you before, I love people, and contributing is very much a big part of who I am, that need and that fulfillment to make a difference or to give out of yourself. And, I'm realising as I go on this, the more how that drives me. And it's the reason why you get up in the morning, to show up, and it's, it's bigger than yourself, which I think when we can grasp that, and especially when you're going through trials, that certainly can help us move through them, because we see others are in need as well. And that began that journey for me of, I knew there was a whisper within me that there was more for my life, and knowing what I had gone through with, facing my own mortality was how was my life going to matter, and that my life indeed did matter. So yeah, I began that quest, starts within you, saying yes to you, that you wanted to live life wholeheartedly and with fulfillment, and even with a lot of aliveness. You didn't just want to survive, you wanted to thrive in life, and you realise life is ticking on by. I'm 59 now, and so I actually had gone to this course years ago, a personal development course, and it was called Courage to Be You. And it was through a wonderful coaching organisation in Australia here called the Coaching Institute, and it was a free course. And I went along, and oh my gosh, for I think it was 3 days we were immersed, and my key takeaway, and I remember it just piercing me, was that my identity was glued to motherhood. And, your children often make choices that you wouldn't choose for them and things like that. And so when that sort of thing happened, I viewed myself, I had failed. And obviously as they grow up and they spread their wings, who was I when in this new season of my life? Who was I after breast cancer? Who was I as a, separated woman? And yeah. So thus began my quest to, listen to that whisper within, and to follow that path of, discovering what more is there for me. And so I went along to this, and I was invited as a guest to a 2-day event called the Foundations of Coaching. And I said yes to me, and I signed up for this coaching program. So that was over 3 years ago now, and I honestly can say it's transformed my life in so many ways. It's helped me learn so much more about who I am, what's held me back, the fears that we face, and how, what my values are, how I'm going to show up for the rest of my life. So now I'm a life coach, and my passion is in relationships and emotional intimacy, and doing that inner work, that deep inner work that is the core, the foundation of living your dreams, really, and living a fulfilled life.
I'm going to ask you what one thing is within it is what you do. However, before that, I have a question for you in regards to, you're so positive and you have been through some very dark things. Was there ever a time, because I mean, you're human, we're all human, was there ever a time that positive light was having a little bit of a hard time shining?
Oh, absolutely. Especially even before breast cancer. And that was probably one of my darkest points where, vulnerably I can share, I didn't want to live anymore. And I just felt like I would they would all be better off without me. These are the lies that we tell ourselves, and, it hazes our perspective in life. And through obviously breast cancer, my marriage breaking down, yes, there's been, some challenges and times where you feel even scared, fear of, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make it on my own? And yet, I believe gratitude is such a big part of helping you tap into to joy, really. And obviously, I have a faith that I hold on to, that anchor that keeps me grounded, that when everything seems impossible, with God, everything is possible. And yet I realised how much more I had to take responsibility for me and how I was showing up. So I think it's really not hiding from our emotions, being able to really feel them. And I did a lot of suppressing my emotions at that time when I was in a dark place. I was burying them, and I've realised and learnt so much about the power of suppressed emotional pain and what actually that does to our bodies. And I can't say categorically this, but I really believe that had a huge impact on the pathway of me actually being diagnosed with breast cancer. So it's about feeling and acknowledging things for what they are, not worse than they are, not better than they are. But if any of you ladies or people on the show were like me, I had this ability to be able to gloss over things and not see them for what they really are. So you were denying the truth, really. And so my journey has been about, seeing it for what it is, feeling what I need to feel, and not hurrying through that feeling, just allowing it. And when we can acknowledge it and it comes to completion, it can pass through. So we're not holding that grief and that trauma or, emotional pain within us. Yeah.
That's so important. And I know that there are many, many of us, myself too. I am breast cancer. I was diagnosed with it. Now I've, that was a chapter in my life. Now I've moved through it. I've healed through it. And thank goodness, and with my buddies. And there's many of us that I believe that have that same story, that possibly we were not necessarily dealing with certain things. I like the way you're saying that, and, being real about it. Don't give it more power than it needs, yet whatever it is, recognize it for what it is and then deal with it. So you're a certified practitioner with what you're doing. What is metadynamics? Because that's one thing I'm not familiar with. And I thought, okay, before we're done, if I don't know it, there's others that don't either. And yet I have a feeling that we're going to want to.
Yeah, well, Metadynamics was developed by, one of my mentors, Sharon Pearson, who was the founder of the Coaching Institute, and it's a deeper dive and a deeper development of NLP, really, the neuralistic program. And yeah, really, it's the power of the mind and, our thinking and how we can cause life to happen rather than, let it just affect us like, a buoy in the storm or a dinghy in a storm where it gets blown all around, that we can actually take charge and direct our life and cause things to happen. And, that has been an amazing transformation, really, when you start to live what we call above the line, where we take responsibility of, instead of blame, that we take that responsibility. And that's huge, really anything that we face, the challenges we face or things that were triggered, it's what's within us that is causing this, rather than always putting everything externally and blaming something that is out of our control. It's about how do we take that back and, be able to create new pathways, new beliefs even. And my beliefs have been challenged along this way, along this journey in the last 3 years. And, I'm realizing that power of choice, the choice to how we want our lives to look, the choice to be an overcomer rather than a victim, the choice to be grateful rather than dwell in all the things that aren't, maybe all lined up and perfect. And that's going to be forever, isn't it? Life isn't all about a bed of roses. So I think for me, it's being able to tap into the joy that I have without letting my circumstances affect that.
Absolutely. And you say here, your value is not determined by your past. Get out of your own way to reach your full potential. There Absolutely. You go. Get out of your own way. And aren't we to blame so many times that it's like we, in truth, guys, truthfully, come on. I know that I can say sometimes I am the one that is in the way, though I think I'm not. It's when we know that, okay, I now know, it's that I didn't know, but now I do. And I absolutely love that because it's so true. And then this next one that you have that I'm going to bring up, this last one here that I've got is you are saying all knowledge is experience. Everything else is information.
Mm-hmm.
Really be open to living our lives, right? And everything else is information, and we can take it or not. We can take it or not, right? And Einstein, he's a pretty smart guy, I have heard. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And Sherry is saying she loved that statement. Yeah, me too. Yeah. I do too. Your value is not determined by your past. Get out of your own way to reach your full potential.
Don't you think part of our life is learning about our value, that inner value, our inner worth? That has transformed my life, just getting a glimpse of that and being able to build on that. And ladies, we need to be able to reach out for help, and who we surround ourselves with that are going to lift us higher, that we can be vulnerable. It's not about wearing masks. It's about, sharing some of our struggles and being vulnerable enough and authentic enough to ask for help and say, I need it, and feel good with that and embrace our imperfections. We're human, aren't we, Tamara?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm going to play a clip that I have here in regards to what it is that we're doing with the buddies, because
yes,
and then we're going to round about this, because you actually said that when you were going through your journey, there was a period of time that having someone there or having a support system made such a big difference. And with you sharing right now that we need to pull upon each other, we need to be authentic. And if we need help, we need to ask for it. And I'm going to play here because there is some help for some of you that are out there right now.
Wonderful.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Wow, that just touches my heart, I think. So special. Yeah.
And you mentioned, because of the fact that when you went through your cancer journey, it was tough, you were hospitalized, and there in Australia, there are some, through a nonprofit there are people that are there to be companions, that are there to help, to teach, and such things like that. And you said that that was one of the things that made a huge difference for you.
Oh, definitely. Through my cancer, yeah, definitely. And they're called the Jane McGrath Breast Nurses. So they are nurses, and they are funded through the Jane McGrath Breast Foundation, which was through a beautiful woman who had a husband with a high profile as a Australian cricketer. And sadly, she lost her life. She was reasonably young, and this foundation is still going. So you had a nurse that would come. She became your friend, your guide. It was so amazing. And I actually look back and I think, I don't know how I would have got through that time without my beautiful breast care nurse. Yeah. So that support is so necessary, and just to have somebody to validate you with what you're going through, and to listen and to care, and as you say, have a little bit of humour and take yourself lightly sometimes through the crud of life. It's important. Yeah.
Yeah, we call it poop humor.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, you just right? I mean, absolutely. And I want to recognize Sherry McQueen saying, and thank you for being so open and vulnerable, saying this. Asking for help is one of the hardest things to do.
Yes.
What would you like to say to that?
Well, that's actually, I've been really challenged just of late, that often when we're very independent and we struggle to ask for help, that's often due to some trauma that we've had in our lives, and that we shut down, that we can't trust others, or we can't trust ourselves. And but I have recognised that in my own life, and especially playing that hero role of I can do it all. So I think there's no substitute for just taking action, Tamara. Courage shows up when we take action and say, I'm going to be vulnerable. I need some help. And it may feel a bit scary and a bit uncomfortable to begin with, but you build muscle, and then you realise how much more you benefit from it, and the person that's able to help you benefits too. So
absolutely. It's just like what you said on this one slide here, and we'll start wrapping it up with it. And it's been those daily habits that have kept me on course and built my self-trust on a way to my destiny and living my dreams. And sometimes we need to trust ourselves.
Absolutely.
If we want to find that course, we know where we want to go. We all do. We may sometimes hide that from ourselves. However, if we're honest with ourselves and trust ourselves, then we can find that course. And then we can also trust ourselves enough to continue to say, okay, I'm going to give it a try. Another time, I'm going to ask for help, because it never seems to fail that maybe when you're just about to say, I'll never do it again, but you do, that can be the miracle time, right? So don't give up.
Absolutely. And, you know, healthy boundaries are a huge part of learning to trust yourself. And that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you for being here and being who you are. You've given us so many beautiful nuggets, and so your story is truly inspirational. Yes, you have been through a lot, yet look at how much you've learned and grown, and now inspiring others. Many times our challenges, though they seem so huge at the moment, are really those gifts and the present of today that is going to possibly be the gift and the miracle for someone tomorrow. And that's what you are right now today, Robyn, for so many. I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you, Tamara. I really appreciate that. I'm so grateful to so many that have been that person for me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you for being here, and everyone that has been here with us. And how can they get a hold of you? Should someone say, okay, I love what she's sharing, I want to know more. How can they get a hold of you?
Well, I have a Facebook page, a business Facebook page, and obviously my profile. My website's nearly finished, and so connect with me on through Facebook. I would love to connect, and just if I can be of any encouragement along the way, I'm all about that. So yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for being here. Thank you, and I want everybody to know it's 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. Now it's 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, where Robyn is, and she joined us to be live on the show today. Again, that is amazing when you start spinning off on that you are actually in our future, and yet that is your reality of the now. And you can just go there all day long and say, wow, okay, that is really cool. Let's do this. And yes, anything is possible, including time zones, which we double checked and triple checked on that one, right? All right. Well, everyone, thank you for being here today. We will be back on Wednesday, and we have Diane Forster, one of the show hosts of one of the shows on the E360 TV platform, and a friend of mine here from Southern California. She will be our service hero of the day. All right. So I'll see you on Wednesday, and thank you again, Robyn, for being the service hero that you are. Bye, everyone. Make it amazing Monday or Tuesday. Bye.